Hey everybody, GVD Studios, welcome back inside. And this is a video I'm going to do about D&D and it being in last place. A friend of mine had already made this video. I'm going to do mine a little bit different because I'm not going to throw in one specific thing he threw in. I'm only going to talk about the two that he did, along with the TTRPG as a whole. Now, D&D is a great thing, and a lot of tabletop role-playing games out there are great. I have, Feast of Legends, which is the Wendy's one, because it was fun. I have Freight Chain, which is my friend Scott's, which you can find on Drive-Thru RPG. I have Fate Core, Fate Accelerated, Dungeon World, ICRPG, and of course D&D. Now, with all those, I'm pretty cool. But D&D right now, as well as a lot of the tabletop role-playing game community, is falling. It's in last place. Video games and board games are beating it. Okay, video games and board games are the top two right now. And there's an issue that I have, not so much with the video game part of it, but the board game part of it. And the reason why is because right now, D&D, still owned by Wizards of the Coast, is a subsidiary of the biggest board game company out there. And that would be Hasbro. Hasbro is the biggest board game company out there. It owns Parker Brothers and Milton Bradley. Like, if you can buy those two companies, you're set. You're set. And the thing that kind of makes me upset is because Wizards of the Coast does own D&D. You know, they've had it. They're a subsidiary. They've also, Wizards of the Coast, of course, was incredibly popular for having Magic the Gathering. And for the about 3, 4, maybe 5 years it had Pokemon for a while before that contract expired, which is now why we have the Pokemon International Company and the Pokemon US Company to put together the TCG, which I play. Which kind of doesn't help my case, I don't think. But with Hasbro owning Wizards of the Coast as a subsidiary, you really need to think maybe they should help Wizards of the Coast and help them with D&D. Help them get D&D to a thing that, no one's expecting. Okay? Because, let's face it, we had Candlekeep Mysteries come out, and we've already had one author want his name right off the book, want nothing more to do with it, because he thought the game book would make the game too regressive. Not progressive, to help move forward. No, regressive, to have it either stay where it is or move back. And that's not good. Okay? So one author wants his name right off the book. And they've done that with the PHB. Okay, if you bought a PHB when it first came out, you'd see several names on the book. If you bought one recently, you'd probably see one name missing from that book. I think mine might have that name missing. I'm not too sure. I have to talk to a friend of mine about that. Of course, that friend being Scott. Now, he mentions in this the board game industry and the video game industry being higher than the tabletop role-playing game industry. And he's right. Video games, followed by board games, followed by tabletop role-playing games. Again, he does throw one more in there, but I'm not going to talk about that part. I'm going to leave that one alone. That would be the professional sports industry, but I'm not going to talk about that because that's a completely different subject idea beyond what we're going with here. So the main thing is, video games are there. They've reached the pinnacle point, I think. Because you have the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Now, I can admit, I have a PS4, I have a PS3 upstairs, I have a Wii upstairs, an N64 upstairs. My brother has a PS4, I have a Switch. That's video game. So I'm into the video game idea, and I know, again, I'm probably not helping the TTRPG cause that well. But at the same time, I'm buying books for $50 a pop and reading the content, especially when it's the core three, the PHB, the DMG, and the MM. So, right there, that's $150 and over 750 pages of content I'm reading, and I'm rereading, and I'm still trying to make sure I have everything right. And even then I still don't, you know? So how do we fix this issue? That's probably the question you're coming up with right now, asking me. How do we fix this issue if, you know, the TTRPG industry isn't high? Well, first off, you got to look at the main, again, two components. Hasbro, which is the biggest board game company in the world, which board games have seen an increase over the past several years, even during the pandemic, the beginning of the pandemic, I should say. A lot of people are sticking with Monopoly, Scrabble, Game of Life, Uno, or other people that have European games like Settlers of Catan, Power Grid, Formula D, Race for the Galaxy. I have 3 of them from North Star in there that I play, Most Wanted, Taverns of Tiefenthal, and Quacks of Quedlinburg. I got all 3 because I volunteered at PAX. So yeah, board games are coming up. Video games, they've kind of reached their point, like I said. And the TTRPG community, or industry, I should say, needs to come up. How do they do that? That's the question that I'm being asked. How do they do that? Because a friend of mine, I was talking this to a friend of mine. Well, there's 2 words. Social networking. Social networking is the key. And I'm not talking about Facebook. I'm not talking about Instagram. I'm not talking about Snapchat. There's only one true social networking platform that will work. Okay, you can get it out here on YouTube, which is fine, but that's minimal. If you want the macro size, like the giant super-sized way to do it, there's only one way to go, and that is Twitter. Twitter is a gateway for a lot of things to happen. And my take on it is if you go to Twitter and type into Hasbro, Dear Hasbro Gaming, or at Hasbro Gaming, you know, can you please help Wizards of the Coast with new D&D material? Or can you help them give us this book, or that book, or this book, or that book, or whatever? Because I think right now Hasbro is too busy thinking about it, like my friend Scott told me when I was talking to him via messaging, as a side project. And he's right, and I agree with that. You know? But if you're going on Twitter, which you should do, and mentioning to Hasbro Gaming that you really care about this product and this game we call Dungeons and Dragons, hopefully, I'm not saying they will, I'm not saying they won't, but hopefully they will listen to the customer and listen to the player base. If it's all about the money in situation, they can have their board games. That's fine. But if they listen to their customers or the fan base of the tabletop role-playing game community, they could easily make more. And that's because Wizards of the Coast will help them get more. Magic, they don't even need to worry about Magic. That's already set sail, and that's already making millions of dollars. At least $1 million. Maybe more. I'm probably going to say a whole lot more. But D&D needs to get up there. And with the community that we have for tabletop role-playing games, and the tabletop industry itself, which I can admit it's not the greatest business plan. It's not. But if you care enough as a community about D&D, you go to Twitter, you be kind and respectful on Twitter, you put out there what they want, or what you want. At Hasbro, you of course should become, like I said, kind and polite. You know, Dear Hasbro Gaming, or at Hasbro Gaming, hashtag Hasbro Gaming, whatever it is. And say, look, we care enough about this product. Can you please help us so we can help you? It sounds weird for me to say it that way, but I think that's the best way for me to do it. Because it's been 7 years. 7 years that we've had 5th edition. And we've only had one book right now that's not, that I've, in the past several releases, that has crapped the bed. And it's Candlekeep Mysteries. I have read Candlekeep Mysteries. I kind of regret reading Candlekeep Mysteries. Thankfully, I don't own it, and I'm not going to own it. I think the next book, if I get any other, might be The Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, which is a different story and different can of worms entirely. Okay? But I want to know your opinion on this, guys. It really would make me try to wrap my head around the entire situation. Do you think that the tabletop role-playing game industry needs to flourish with the help of the community? And how do you think you can help as a member of that community? You know, do you think there's another way to go ahead and do it? If so, let me know down in the comment section down below. Also, be sure to like the video by clicking on the like button, and of course hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to click the notification bell, which is over there down next to the like, dislike, and all that other stuff down there. And it's actually right next, it's conveniently put right next to the subscribe button, so it works. And of course, anytime I have a new video come out, you guys will be the first to know. Thanks again for watching. I'm Johnny V. The studio, well, it's going to close for right now. I want to hear your comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.